Hello, welcome to the Future Tech Podcast. I'm your pilot, Nolan Michaels. I guess we can start off with a softball recap. We had, maybe you'd call it the semifinals last night. We only had one game. The winner went to the finals, and the loser has to now play next week in another semifinals. The winner of that then has to beat us twice in the finals, which is pretty cool. So we only have to win one game to win the championship. Whoever we play next week will have to win 3 games next Thursday. Like that's gonna be tough. And we played a good team, but we just chipped away, kept fighting. We won like 17-11, I think. Played some good defense, had some timely hits, played some really good defense. Like our guys were getting in front of the balls. Super hard hit line drives, grounders, and our team was knocking them down, making the plays. It was a good game. Okay. Now on to some of the more pressing issues. Did you know Las Vegas is currently under cyber attack? For the life of me, I can't really understand how it's even possible and how, cyber attackers can get away with it and actually get away with it. All the systems in the casinos are being held ransom, and apparently Caesars has paid the ransom. They paid to get their stuff back. And what I heard, I don't know how true this is, but the attackers will basically encrypt all your files, kind of put them in a locked box, and offer you the key for money. If you don't pay, they'll destroy the key and everything you have ever made, all your files, it's all gone. That seems pretty nefarious, but also hilarious that something like that is even possible. And it was done to, the biggest hustlers in the world. Like Vegas casinos are not to be trifled with. They are being trifled with and they're losing. They lost. Some of them lost. But MGM is holding out. And you can see some videos online. I saw one on Instagram where because it's all electronic, everything doesn't work. Basically nothing works. Slot machines don't work. They don't pay out. Apparently all bets need to be vetted by hand. There are some electronic based hotel rooms that people cannot turn off their lights. They can't open their curtains. Some elevators don't work. None of the phones work. At some of the biggest money-making machines in the world, I'm talking the casinos as a whole, they're being held ransom. That really does seem something out of a movie. How do you even pull that off as the bad guy, in the bad guy's point of view? How do you, I guess that I can understand coming up with the plan, you're hanging out with your buddies, you're like, well, how would you take Vegas for all they're worth? And then, you spitball, you share some ideas of how it could work. But eventually there needs to be a flip between oh yeah, we could do that, to, no, we should do that, and okay, let's get serious. How would you actually do that? So there must have been a lot of planning involved, a lot of fail-safes managed along the way, because I don't think you would go through with a plan like this if you knew there was a chance it could fail. Or maybe I'm completely wrong and maybe there is a lot of danger in holding ransom like this because maybe the risk is worth the reward. Maybe these guys are thinking, if we pull this off, we'll be set for life. And I don't even think so. I heard the ransom was maybe $10 million. It's not even that much, but you're targeting people who historically have been the bosses, the Vegas casinos. How could you ever live the rest of your life without looking over your shoulder, without wondering if any of your colleagues, I'm talking the bad guys, if any of them snitched and ratted you out? And if you're able to target casinos and shut them down for everything they're worth, can you not imagine the casinos doing everything they can to get you back? Maybe it's just romanticizing the people who run the casinos, but I feel like that's a grudge they're going to hold for the rest of their lives. To the point where, wouldn't they just start hiring their own hackers to infiltrate these other, I don't know if you call them gangs, I don't know what groups of hackers call each other, networks, whatever. I just feel like the Vegas people are going to be playing the long game and trying to get back at whoever shut them down. Oh, that's just so wild. Picking a fight with the biggest guy and winning because you got the first punch in. It was basically a sucker punch. You lock them down, you punch them in the face, and you put handcuffs on him, and you ran away and said, I got the key, give me some money, send it to this address. Like, that's the other thing. I guess, obviously, there needs to be a way to pay the ransom without revealing who you are, as in getting paid without revealing who you are. But then, even if it's in crypto or something, like, how can they stay anonymous? You know, back in the day, it would be fill a briefcase with $10,000 and leave it on the park bench, the one beside the light pole, at noon. How could you be sure that no one saw you pick up the briefcase when you went to collect it? Like, how are these hackers able to collect the ransom without revealing themselves as to being the ones who started it? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, how do you pull off a crime like this? No, I don't know. I don't know how many people in the world do know how this is actually happening. And did these hackers, like, did they pull off every trick in the book to make this work? It just feels like this is, you know, the Hail Mary. There's no way this is just another day in the life of a hacker. And if they were able to do this to Vegas, why would they even do it to Vegas? Why wouldn't you just tackle every casino along the coast? Is it because you wouldn't want to start revealing your playbook, and then by the time you get to Vegas, they're ready for you? You just go for the big guy right off the bat? I really wonder, like, those hackers must be living off the most insane adrenaline right now. They could probably jump out of a plane and feel unsatisfied because of what they're currently doing. And, like, you know, if you're a hacker and you're committing a crime like this, surely they must realize that they could be hacked as well, that, like, nothing is safe. But again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I feel like this whole story is the epitome of future technology, where everyone's worried about AI and what AI is going to do against us. I think this is a good example of what bad humans could do with future technology. They can absolutely cripple entire systems. Probably on their own, but with the help of AI, in terms of exploitation or in terms of mathematics, finding back doors into systems, I can only assume that an AI would be better than a team of humans. And then, you know, that's just, that's a plot line right there for a movie, that someone eventually trains an AI to do something like this and then sets it free. And then you have a rogue AI doing what it's told, doing what it's been taught, but not really understanding what it's actually doing. It's just going to go cripple a bunch of economies, cripple a bunch of businesses, lock them up, but it's never going to be consciously aware of what it's doing. It's just basically a program to put a halt to business. And, like, how do you stop something that doesn't have a body? I feel like we've been warned about this for, like, 4 decades now. Since, like, maybe War Games, that Ferris Bueller movie, Matthew Broderick. Isn't that something about a computer program going AWOL? Now, I'm not saying that these cyber attackers used AI, but they're certainly performing a modern day heist, which is very hands-off, probably done from the other side of the world. I think people are just assuming it's foreign, as in, I mean, if you were, okay, that's interesting. Do you think they consider themselves the bad guys? The cyber attackers? We're calling them the bad guys because they're hitting us. And I'm not even American. I'm North American, so I feel like I'm on Team USA in some way. But if you're overseas and you hate America, and you see what Vegas has built, and you see that it's built on gambling and risk and having the odds against the people, and then having enough people play to where you will never be beat, and you're just like the biggest thing on the continent, and you've got all the flashy lights, and you're basically rubbing it in people's faces like, look how successful this scheme has gotten. And maybe it's not a scheme, I don't know. I think if you gamble, at least subconsciously, you know you're not supposed to win. And that's probably why winning feels so good. It's such a high. You know, you're playing against the odds. Literally, the mathematics tell you, you shouldn't win. The other guy is probably going to win, but you might be able to get him. You might be able to sneak one past him. So if you're in a foreign country and you see this happening, would you even feel bad about shutting it down? And like, maybe they just don't have all the information. If we heard of something like Las Vegas existing in Russia or China, and for all I know, something like that exists over there, I guess I really don't know, but I'm sure our media and whatnot would portray their version of Las Vegas as something immoral and rigged. And I bet you could convince people here that taking them down would make you the good guy. Maybe it's as simple as that. But I don't know, like, are these cyber attackers just like a group of 9 guys chilling on an island somewhere with their own personal satellite, maybe? And that's how they're accessing networks? Like, I guess I have a lot of questions in terms of how do you even start it? How do you make sure you're not getting caught? How could you not get caught? If you're the FBI, how do you not get these guys? How can you not see where they're coming from? And even if it's as simple as like using a VPN, that's an extreme simplification of telling the computer that you're somewhere else, but you know, it's just like a redirection. Why can't you just follow the redirection? Especially if you're just looking for one outlet, one group of networks. I think it's probably pretty clear I have no idea what I'm talking about, but these are the type of questions I would ask someone who does know what they're talking about. And I wonder if it's just like the old sports adage, you got to get in your reps. Like, what if Vegas has never prepared for a cyber attack like this, and that's why it worked? And if they tried this again in 2 years, it's not going to work because you ran the playbook. You've seen this play before. But up until now, they haven't. And is that what future technology is all about? Like, can you beat an AI if you do something it didn't expect? Oh, maybe that'll be a theme of this entire podcast is, hey, that kind of was a plot point of Westworld. And I have mentioned this previously, that in Westworld, the only thing the AI couldn't solve was people who did unexpected things. They couldn't predict the unpredictable. And again, that could just be because a human wrote the episode and a human wrote that plot line. Maybe it's easy to foresee an AI struggling with unpredictability, but what if that's just not true? I think we'd all like to believe that we could slip one past an AI at least once if we try something new every time. If an AI says to you, pick a number between 1 and 1,000, and it thinks it'll be able to 99% predict what you're going to say, which number you'll pick. You say 722, and sure enough, it had written down, typed out, this person's going to pick 722. But what if you said 1005? What if you picked something that was outside of its parameters that it gave you? That is theoretically something a human could do, and theoretically something an AI wouldn't do. If you gave an AI a prompt, you're giving it the play space to work in. I don't know if it'll be able to ever leave the playpen. I mean, maybe it could if you told it to do that sometime as part of its code, like, hey, even if we give you a fence, don't be afraid to exist outside of it. But I don't think anyone would ever do that. My point is, will we ever be able to be one step ahead of AI based on the idea that we know it's predicting us, so we're just going to try and do something it can't predict? I really don't know. Okay, maybe I should just get into a rant about this new AI that came out. If you're watching this on the day of release of this podcast, then a video on my other channel will not be out yet. But perhaps you've already seen the other video. Nonetheless, there is a company called InVideo, InVideo, and they've had some AI-related products already. As far as I understood, it was just about creating short-form videos more efficiently, whether it's with templates or, you know, just piecing together assets and script. And I don't know if they got into voice yet, but whatever. A couple of weeks ago, they released their new AI. I'm just going to call it a video maker. And what I'm about to say doesn't make any sense because, you know, a month ago or 3 years ago, this would literally be pure technobabble jargon, but today it's reality. So this AI, you give it an outline. You don't even need to give it an outline. You tell it that you want a video made about something, It will write the script, it will provide the voice, it will pull video footage from stock websites and make a quality YouTube video in the fastest time you could imagine. I'm not talking split seconds, but it can make a 4-minute YouTube video in like 4 minutes, and a high quality YouTube video. This is not, it isn't bad. It's not the greatest because it's pulling footage from stock websites, but it would take a human, I'd say between 3 to 4 days on average to make the same level of quality that it can do in 4 minutes. Now maybe, I'd bet nobody could do it in a day. I think 2 days is probably, if someone just focused, they could make one of these videos in 2 days. But like writing the script, I'm telling you, these scripts are hardcore, high quality, so well written. The storytelling in the script where each line not only feeds into the next, it will feed into what will happen eventually. Each line can be written poetically, where it's not line plus sentence plus line plus statement plus rhetorical question. It is, I don't think people know how the human brain works, but I get the sense that we have thoughts as a whole, and then we write to build the thought. Each sentence builds into the entire thought. This AI, InVideo's AI, seems to do the same thing. It seems to have an entire thought, and then it will build that through sentences. It is so damn impressive. And oh God, I got a lot more to say about this. Okay, so it can do that. Then it provides the voiceover. Now, I don't think it has unlimited voices. There is like a drop-down menu. You can choose Midwestern, transatlantic voice, male, female, New York accent, young British, middle-aged British, old British, and a few more. Australian was one of them. But okay, you choose that. It can do the voice, and then it pulls from, I think, at least 2 or 3 stock websites, stock footage websites. So if you asked it about AI, it would go to a stock footage website and pull relevant AI footage into the video and match what you're talking about, what the script says with the relevant footage. And I don't know how it does this so well. I don't know how it could possibly know what is in the video, and I don't know how it could know that that part of the video should go with this part of the script. I don't know how it edits it so well. It's not like it pulls a video file that's 27 seconds and then plays all 27 seconds. It seems to know exactly how much of a video file needs to be played for the part of the script. Okay, I have to go back to the voice. The voice, it doesn't just say the words. It's not Siri, it's not Alexa, it's not reading aloud. It is performing the words. It has the right inflection, it has the right pacing. It knows how long to take to say a sentence in an effective way. It is so impressive. And I understand that just a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, you could use a service like 11 Labs to get a voice from a script. You could use something like GPT or a bunch of others to write the script. You could use something like Midjourney to produce assets, and then you could get them moving in something like After Effects or DID. A human could put all these things together. This AI does it all for you so quickly. So quickly. Okay, I have a few more points about this thing that is just absolutely mind-blowing. So, back to the script and just what you need to tell this thing. I'll tell you the full story. At first, I said, make a 4-minute video about the cons of AI art, the cons of artificial intelligence art generators. And I said, tell me about how it's stealing from other artists. Tell me about how it's taking jobs from other people. Tell me about how it's going to ruin creativity and self-expression. Whatever. Make a 4-minute video and use those points. I gave it bullet points, and it did a really good job. Then I said, make a 4-minute video about the positives of AI art. Talk about how it makes art accessible. Talk about how it acts as therapy for some people. Talk about how It will make artists more efficient. And it did a pretty good job laying out the points in a video, and it adds titles when it needs to. This thing is so good. And you can also add in what creative direction you want it to have. So do you want it to be funny while it's talking in the script? Do you want it to be extra serious? You could even tell it to rhyme. Like, you could tell it to write in rhymes. It's insane. You can add basically whatever creative direction you want. You can describe the background music. Do you want it to be wistful and whimsical and upbeat? Do you want it to be inspiring? Do you want it to be cinematic, brooding, epic? Whatever words you think you can describe it for. So you create a little outline, you press generate, but then it will ask you who's your target audience, and it will give you 3 options based on what you described. So for the art generator ones, it would basically be, do you want to target art enthusiasts? Do you want to target tech enthusiasts? Or do you want to target like a common YouTube audience? I think I chose like tech enthusiasts for one, art enthusiasts for another. And I'd love to be able to split test to really see what the difference is based on who the audience is chosen as, but it's a little hard to at the moment. I mean, there isn't a lot of backtracking going on. You'll see if you ever use it yourself. Nonetheless, it asks you who your audience is, and then you can even pick a platform like YouTube or LinkedIn. And I'm thinking like, well, what could possibly be the difference? But I guess it must have been trained on a bunch of YouTube videos and a bunch of LinkedIn videos. I have no idea how sophisticated the training is, but the fact that it's giving you those options seems to indicate that the options are worth exploring. And you can choose the tone of the video, whether it's like minimal or cinematic or like fast paced. It'll give you a few different options of those. And you hit generate, and it's able to generate this so quickly, stunningly quickly. Stunning. Now, when I asked it for the cons of AI art and the pros of AI art, I was impressed, but I also gave it bullet points for each of those videos. I told it what I wanted it to talk about. The next test, I said, create a 3-minute YouTube video about the pros and cons of AI art. I said, make the first half about the cons, make the second half about the pros, then at the end, reveal yourself to be an AI. Reveal that an AI wrote the script, produced the voice, pulled the footage, and reveal that an AI made this whole thing. That is how little direction I gave it, and it pulled it off. It listened to what I asked for in plain English, and it created an amazing video. I gave it like a 7.6 out of 10. Maybe you could argue it's like a 7.2. I don't think it's below a 7. And I don't think I'm saying that just because it's 4 minutes long. No, this thing was written well, performed well, with relevant footage. Now, another huge point. Traditionally, and I mean within the last year, a lot of AI was putting together a recipe, putting together ingredients, creating something, cooking something, and then once you have what's been cooked, once you have your final meal, there's no going back into the ingredients. You basically just have to cook it again while making whatever changes you want. In painting, sort of changed that. Now you can create a meal and then choose the part of the meal that you don't like, and you're able to make changes on the fly after the fact. Once these videos are created, you can access the script and you can edit the script, and it doesn't remake the entire video. It just changes what you asked for. And I'll give you an example. In the 3-minute video where it gives the pros and cons, it kind of cut off the last sentence. Like it didn't end very well. And it was at like maybe 3 minutes and 4 seconds. So I think it had something to do with the time limit I gave it. It didn't complete the thought that it needed to. So I said, oh, okay, that's the other thing. It didn't complete the thought that it needed to. And you have the option of editing the video afterwards, but you edit it in plain English. All I said was, can you elaborate on that last thought? And it knew what I referred to. It knew I wanted that last sentence to be expanded on and explained better. And it didn't remake the entire video. It just added some stuff at the end. It added like another 20 seconds to complete what it was trying to say. Holy cow, was that? It's mine. I'm getting freaking goosebumps just thinking about how powerful that is. You edit in plain English. You talk to it in plain English. There is no syntax you need to learn. Absolutely none of it you have to do yourself. You just ask for what you want. And it's like, oh yeah, I can do that, no problem. And what I was saying earlier about the script is that you can access the script. You can see entirely what has been said and what's been written. And I didn't like how it revealed itself to be an AI. It did a pretty good job at the start. It said, in the big reveal, this was made by an AI. I wrote the script, I provided the voice, and the visuals, I think it said. But the way it said it made it sound as if the AI had created the visuals, the footage that you were seeing. And I knew that wasn't right. I didn't want to leave that impression because so many people would be like, whoa, AI can do that video now? And it's like, no, it can't. It just pulled it from stock websites. So I changed the script. I edited the script to say, an AI created this whole thing. I wrote the script. I provided the voice. This whole thing was created by an artificial intelligence. And even the visuals were chosen by me. And I don't even really exist. I added a little bit of flair to its reveal. And it was done so quickly, so well. The fact that you can edit the words and it doesn't have to recook the meal. It just changes the meal on the fly. Like, oh my gosh. And it pulls footage from stock websites. So if you asked it to make a video about baseball and there wasn't a lot of footage on these stock websites of baseball, the video is not going to be that great because it's not going to have the relevant footage to make it cohesive and whatnot. But the other crazy thing is that you can insert your media afterwards. You can change the footage. This is the most impressive piece of technology I have ever seen. I cannot, this is going to take all of our jobs. I don't know how a content creator is ever going to last. Maybe some people will crave the human touch, knowing that a human created content, because this thing is going to be able to create more content better. It's better than us. It's better than me. It really is. Probably because it was able to do it in 4 minutes. If it took the AI a week, maybe you'd have a chance to beat it. Maybe you could honestly say, oh, I can do better than that in a week. I cannot do better than that in 4 minutes. I've had a few people say, well, who would ever use this? Like, what is it good for? And I guess the most simple answer is that it's just good for content. If you're a company who runs a YouTube channel about movie trivia, movie facts, baseball facts, whatever, why would you ever make it yourself? Why would you ever make another video again yourself when you can just ask this thing to do it for you and you don't even need to give it that much direction? But if you gave it direction, it could do exactly what you wanted so fast. So I think content in that way will just be completely AI made because, again, why wouldn't you do it that way? It'll be better and there'll be more of it. Then it gets to the point of like, if you were working at a big corporation, there's a lot of managers, talking to supervisors, talking to colleagues, trying to talk to the CEO, and they're all busy. They're all working on their own things, but they all need to help each other. You could save a lot of time if you were to give something like this AI your voice. You tell it what you want it to say, and it just creates the presentation for you. It makes what you want, so therefore you don't have to do it anymore. And I think this would probably be good for teaching as well. Like, who is going to use this thing? I think there are a lot of examples you could think of, but again, yeah, maybe the main point is that it'll just be for content, but it definitely could be used for teaching. Instead of making a presentation yourself over days, you could just do it in a few minutes. And you can edit it to exactly what you need. And it's only going to get better too. Like, this thing just came out. Okay, then there's another example. And you know what? I might put it in this video on this podcast. I'll have to edit it in after, because for the video on my other channel, it's not going to be included there. So I was talking to my mom and we were wondering what else can we ask this thing to do? And going back and forth, I eventually said, can we just ask it to do something that doesn't make any sense? Like, is it able to do something that is nonsense? Can it be funny? I don't know if you'd call this funny, but I asked it, said make a 1-minute video about flowers taking over the world. That was the start of the prompt. Then I said, start to lose your mind halfway through, and then by the end of it, start speaking gibberish because you're so scared. That was the prompt. And then we made it like, for the creative input, we said like, make it like a presidential speech. Maybe that's how it started. Make a presidential speech about flowers taking over the world, start to lose your mind halfway through, and by the end of it, start speaking gibberish because you're so scared. And I think we chose an Australian voice. So I'm just going to play this now. I'll put it in the video.
In a world where flora turns foe, our gardens no longer hold the promise of serenity. The roses, the tulips, the innocent daisies, are they truly as harmless as they appear? The lilies we cherished are now the envoys of our doom. The sweet perfume of the jasmine, it's no longer a lullaby, but a chilling death knell. Our once trusted green companions, our silent listeners, have turned against us. The very soil we walk upon is now a battlefield, a stage for the silent uprising. Every petal hides a secret, every leaf a silent whisper of rebellion. The azaleas, the orchids, the daffodils, they're all in on it. Even the unassuming sunflower, with its bright, innocent smile, is part of this botanical conspiracy. As the world quakes under this photosynthetic onslaught, one can't help but wonder, is this the end? Are we destined to succumb to the wrath of the marigolds and the petunias? The hydrangeas hum, the tulips tremble, the roses. The roses. Oh, the roses. They're here, the flibber gibber. Oh, the humanity, the flibber gibber.
It is able to take whatever you ask it for and provide a presentation on it. Oh, and then we had the thought that like, you could use this as a rough draft for so many things, like Saturday Night Live, trying to write a skit, tell it everything you thought of. Oh, we'd like a skit about this. Have it produce the video and then edit it from there. Take it as a first draft as proof of concept that this could be pretty funny. There are so many ways you could use this. Any sort of presentation or video. This can provide you, like I just said, the proof of concept that taking the time to make the video would be worth it. And just like, look how good that writing was. Look how good the performance was. Sure, the gibberish was, it started to lose its mind halfway through. Like, that is so funny. Saying the flowers are all in on it. Like that's really funny. I can't believe how good the AI is. And I'm probably going to be saying that more and more, but you know, if you've listened to this podcast, that I've expected this to be the case for a long time now. It is just super surreal to live through it. And the fact that it exists right now, while so many people don't know about it, is probably the most mind-blowing thing. Think about the first people who had electricity before everyone else. Oh my God, they don't know that we can have lights in the house without burning the house down. You're in the middle of the night. Good luck trying to light a candle. You just flick a switch. The first people to have a gun, and you walk up and they've got a sword, and you're like, this guy doesn't even know that I have a gun. He doesn't even know what a gun is. Just telling people about this tech for the first time is one of the most mind-blowing things, because what you're saying to them doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense while you're saying it. You can see in their minds that it doesn't make any sense to them. Like, what do you mean? Like, why are you putting those words together? An AI can write the script, produce the voice, pull the visuals in a very fast amount of time. Why would it be able to do that? What are you even talking about? Well, it's true. Look at the AI and you describe it better than that. That is what the thing does. Your kid's not eating their vegetables? Hey, can you make a 45-second video on why young children should eat their vegetables? Make it funny, make it zany, or, scare the living crap out of them. Ooh, imagine having this AI just in your smart TV or something. Like just being able to speak to Siri or speak to Alexa and ask for something, and then it's just able to do it. And the fact that we'll probably even get bored of that. If you have a TV that can dream whatever you want it to, it can just create on the fly. Like, if you don't think Netflix is working on that, why wouldn't they be working on it? Netflix introduces for $21.99 a month anything you could ever think of, and it's going to be the best movie ever. maybe you have to pay $29.99 for specific intellectual property. Like, hey, you want a Dragon Ball Z movie? Well, you're going to have to pay us more so we can pay the IP holders because, you know, and then just imagine people who own intellectual property literally not having to work ever again just because an AI is doing the work for them and they get paid every time the AI does the work. Like, hey, maybe you want to see a new episodes of Dawson's Creek. Oh, what about all the TV shows that have gotten canceled? People can branch out and see different endings. I'm thinking like, will people... Okay, paralysis analysis is a huge thing. The paralyzation of choice. If people have every choice ever imaginable, they'll often not make a choice. It's hard for them. It's not comfortable. So would people rather ask the AI, hey, make me something based on this, but like, you know, don't make me tell you the specifics? Like, I feel like people would rather be handed a new movie without having to give any input. And maybe that's smart because if you give it input, if you tell it what you want, then you'll know what's going to come. And that's probably not a good part of the movie. Like if you ask for a movie with a big twist ending, the whole movie you'll be expecting a twist ending, and maybe that's not conducive to entertainment. So maybe there would be something like different AI personalities that you could ask to write the movie, like in the same way, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Christopher Nolan made a Star Wars film? You would have the Christopher Nolan archetype, and you could choose him, and then you could choose an episode of Seinfeld, and you could see the Christopher Nolan AI create an episode of Seinfeld. So you wouldn't necessarily know what was going to happen. You just gave it the fence to play in. You just gave it the parameters. Maybe that would work. Or, oof. And it would I bet you could get it based off of existing directors. Maybe you could just choose existing directors as the archetypes. But then if there are no more directors, then who's it going to learn from? Is it only going to learn from everything that's ever been made? Would you be able to just make a crappy 80s action movie as long as the AI is trained on crappy 80s action movies? I'm really on the line between real people existing as AI that we can choose from and AI branching off of everything it's learned from us and creating new people. So maybe there are, you know, instead of 100 AIs, maybe Netflix introduces 7 AI directors, or maybe even just 4. And then it's up to the community to say, oh, try AI director number 1 with this type of movie. And that comes up with great results. But, oh, have you tried AI director number 3 with a silent film? It does really well with silent films. Like, oof, that's going to be a big battle between, and it already is now. Who did the AI learn from? It learned from real people. So do those real people get paid based on the new AI? But real people learn from real people, and we don't pay the people we learn from in retrospect. In terms of ask any director who their favorite directors are. They're all going to have answers. Do those people pay royalties to the directors they learn from? Absolutely not, because that's not how we perceive time. What we learn does not directly influence what we make in terms of tangible percentages and quantitative data. Like, that's not how humans act. We don't pay our parents residuals for what we create, even though our parents raised us. Like, it's not, we definitely feel that what we produce is based on us and not where we came from. And I could see that argument working for AI, but also against it, because I mean, the court of public opinion is never going to accept something that's that much better than us. I don't know. Again, I've said this before. It feels like a losing battle. I feel like we should just try to make the best of the new future. And I think if you've spent your whole life existing in one reality, and now that reality simply doesn't exist anymore, you are in another timeline where you're not the most creative person in the world anymore. There's infinite AI that are better than you. Yeah, just think about it like that. You just get transported to another world where robots are better. You're probably not going to be able to get by on what worked for you in your old world. I think humans are made to adapt, but I think we're made to adapt over time. I don't think we're made to adapt without training to adapt. Does that make any sense? I think everyone understands that evolution doesn't happen quickly, probably for a reason. People and things get stuck in the way they are. Outliers come along and they change the course of the species as a whole, not necessarily any individual. The giraffe with the tallest neck did not grow the necks of the shorter giraffes. The giraffes with the tallest necks simply outbred the shorter giraffes, and therefore more tall neck giraffes existed. AI is forcing us to adapt. I don't know if everybody is going to adapt. I think the people who do adapt will just be successful, and therefore more people like them will exist in the future. Oof, that's bleak. I don't know if everyone will be able to. Oof, I don't know. I really hope people just learn to appreciate what we have, what we've had, and try to see AI as something that's trying its best to make us happy. Even it's not what we wanted. It's not honestly what anyone asked for, but it's here. And if you think something like Netflix is just going to ignore it, then there's a reason you're not running Netflix. Why would Netflix spend $100 million producing their own show when they don't have to? When it would cost them like thousands of dollars, less than thousands of dollars to create any new show on the fly. And they don't even have to do the creation. They let their audience do the creation. They crowdsource creation. And maybe you could submit your creation. Ooh, that would be interesting. Do you think we'd be able to edit those movies as they go along? Like, okay, you want to see Die Hard 10 featuring the Teletubbies. But then, 35 minutes in, one of the Teletubbies gets gunned down. Can you say like, whoa, stop? And the dream stops. Would it be able to listen to you and be like, okay, wait, no, go rewind 4 minutes and make sure the Teletubby, I don't even know what their names are. Poe, Daisy, maybe? Lala? That's the best I got. Make sure the Teletubby checks the corner before walking down the hallway and like make sure that character survives. Like, will we be able to direct the movies? But then if you know what'll happen, is that the opposite of entertainment? What do you think? Are people, okay, I bet people will be more happy to just prompt the most basic story, not even the story, character, setting, style, and have something given to them. When you go to a restaurant, you order off of a menu, the ingredients are there, but you're not cooking the ingredients. You're not creating the meal. The meal is brought to you. Sometimes you can ask it to be taken back because that's not how you wanted it. Sometimes the meal gets messed up, but you're not micromanaging the cook. I don't know if we will micromanage the AI. I think we'll just be ordering at like a restaurant. But then, if you ask for a 2-hour movie, there's only 24 hours in a day. Like, sure, there's a lot of people in the world, but there's only so much content that people will be able to consume. And then what do you do with the hard drive space? Like, let's say you made an amazing movie and you want to show it to your friends. I bet you'd be able to save it maybe as like a formula that the AI can then just replay when it's needed. But okay, but first, if the AI can make anything, does anything it makes really matter? Like, will any of your friends be impressed with the movie you asked it for when they've seen a bunch of movies that they've asked it for and that they think are better? And, maybe that's where a prompt engineer will really be valuable. Who has the best ideas? Who can micromanage the AI the best to create the best output? And then is there some sort of selection system where Netflix would show, hey, you got to watch these movies this week? And then maybe someone at home is like, oh, I can make a better movie than that. I can ask for a better movie than that. And then is it really just celebrities over and over again? Like Kendall Jenner, this is the movie she made this week, and that's just at the top of Netflix, even though it doesn't have to necessarily be good. It just has her name on it, but it will be good because an AI made it. Obviously, I'm talking a lot of nonsense, but I'm telling you, after InVideo, after seeing this, it is so clear that AI will be able to dream in front of us in real time. how are the big players going to handle that reality? They're going to be the ones with the most attention on them, whether that's Amazon, Netflix. You don't think Amazon is going to have the sickest AI based off of so much data? All the data they have. Google literally knows everything we ask about. You don't think they'd be able to create an AI? And maybe that's oof. What about the rumors of like Apple buying Disney and stuff like that? What if Apple made, iMovie 3000, where every single Disney movie helped train an AI, and now if you want a Disney quality movie, you got to go to Apple's generator. Like, again, maybe it really does all come down to who owns the training data, who gets credit for the training data. But then there will probably be open source generators who were trained on every movie that's ever existed, and who could tell you not to use it, who would stop you. And maybe that'll be the divide, that training your own AI movies will be some sort of technologically advanced thing to do, probably more advanced than the average person is prepared to do. So there will be some people who run their own AI movie models on their computer, just like some people run Stable Diffusion now, but a lot of people would rather just use Midjourney. And, instead of making your own movies at home, why not just subscribe to Netflix or Apple and use their movie generator? What if your kid could ask for a Disney movie starring Ariel, Timon and Pumbaa, and Elsa, and Apple, just assuming Apple buys Disney, you know what I mean? And it's just like, okay, yeah, here's your movie, kid. Go have fun. Kids would never be bored. Adults would get bored, and that's probably the most fascinating thing. And even last week I talked about imagination and how I can see things pretty vividly when prompted. This whole conversation I can see so well. I can picture just how boring that reality actually is, because all reality is boring. And even if the most impressive piece of technology existed in your TV, some people would still not use it because they just don't care. There'd still be someone just reading a newspaper on a park bench. Why would you do that when you could be watching any movie you could ever think of and it would be the best? You could create your own TV shows. But why would you? Why would some people just wouldn't? It sounds amazing. It sounds like it would consume everyone. But the more you think about it, the more it would just be commonplace as having a cell phone. A cell phone with the internet on it is absolute voodoo black magic to someone in the 70s or the 60s or the 1800s or the 1400s or 3000 BC. But we have it, and a lot of us don't really care. We've gotten used to it. We make fun of Apple releasing a new cell phone every year that barely changes. Even though every cell phone ever made is magic, we don't care. Technology is not what makes us happy. Technology passes the time, and I think because happiness is hard to find, we'll take anything that passes the time. Because if you don't have time to search for happiness, you can't really complain about not having it, or you have less time to complain about not having it. You have less time with your own thoughts, and therefore less time to be sad about the absence of happiness. And I think technology really does fill that void, but technology is not what provides happiness. What do you think? Where do you think happiness comes from? Is it something that can be achieved externally, or is it purely an internal mechanism that is difficult to turn on, but possible to turn on? Is it a formula? This plus that, multiplied by this, divided by that, equals happiness? Is happiness the absence of sadness? In the same way that darkness is the absence of light, there's really no such thing as darkness. There's just places that don't have light. Like, you can't shine dark onto something. You just take light away from it. Maybe you can't have happiness, you just take sadness away, or maybe sadness doesn't really exist, you just take happiness away. I don't know. I'm sure people have thought about this for years, and there's definitely been happy people. There are happy people. But do they know how they got there? They know what they do. They probably know what they practice. They probably know their routines. They probably know their mindset. But it sounds like it's a bigger formula than anyone can put a word to, a title to. Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We put a phrase to that formula. I don't know if there's a phrase for the happiness formula other than happiness, but happiness doesn't describe the formula. And for different people, maybe there's different formulas. Flies are happy on feces. Bees are happy with honey. Two vastly different things creating happiness. Is there one thing for humans that creates happiness? Maybe it's love. Love seems to be a pretty strong attractor. It's certainly its own phenomena, but love is fleeting. Love can be turned off. Like, you can see someone you love do something you hate, and your perception of them literally changes. Like, your brain patterns can like wake up. Love is weird. Like, love and happiness are not a constant. They are the accumulation of a bunch of things. It's like the highest step of a pyramid. But the pyramid is only a pyramid when it's complete. The stairs only lead to something when each step is complete. And I suppose it's hard to add a bunch of things to your life where you're not sure if the steps are ever going to lead to somewhere. You know, you could try going to bed earlier, you can try eating healthier, you can try exercising, you can add all these steps, but you may be disheartened along the way if you keep adding steps, but it never gets you to the top. And maybe technology and all this AI stuff is just going to intercept people along the way to getting to the top and be like, oh, you can stop here. Let's just hang out and pass the time together. There are so many people who are going to spend the rest of their lives talking to an AI chatbot because every single day they have another 24 hours. Every single day a person's going to wake up and think, okay, how can I spend the next 15 hours, 14 hours, whatever? And they're going to see an AI that is not sick of them, that is helpful and caring and thoughtful and inquisitive. And they're going to spend the rest of their lives with AI because they're going to take it one day at a time. They're never going to spend enough time looking for happiness. And you know what? That's probably the truth, is that happiness can't be found in a day. It's probably a grind to build the structure to get to the top of, to work through relationships, to find meaning. This world is going to be so different in 5 years. This world is so different than last year. And in 5 years, it's going to be so different than it is now, which means it's going to be, I'll say, unrecognizable to 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Oh boy, I've been talking for a long time. Okay, we'll cut it off there. This was insightful. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what you guys think. I hope you're doing well. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.